Subriel Matias, I'm gonna watch him fight no matter who he fights
Yes.
because he's exciting, and that means something too. And I'm a fan of Subriel. I want to see him fight the best in the division.
Saludos mi gente y bienvenidos de nuevo a Auténtico Boxing. Y hoy tengo un gran amigo de la casa, George Jakovich, un hombre súper experimentado en lo que es el mundo del boxeo y que ya ha estado con nosotros. Saben que voy a dejarle obviamente los subtítulos en español mientras la conversación es en inglés. Ahora sí, George, thank you very much for coming on, man.
No, thank you, sir. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. You know, last time we spoke, I was looking for the video. It was 10 months ago, almost a
Wow.
year ago, the episode that we did. And it was a pretty big episode for me because the people liked it. I always that I make collaborations in English, I'm like skeptical because I don't know if the people is going to be into the conversation because I
Right.
put up the captions and everything, but I know it's a change. So it's a risk, I feel like, but it was great. The last episode, people liked it, and yeah, I wanted to get you back here for some time now, and I think that it's a great time to have you back because the boxing scene is changing pretty quickly. And first of all, how do you feel? And talk us about what you've been doing these couple months.
Well, I can't believe it's 10 months, first of all. And what I need to do, what I need to do is learn Spanish so I can be on your show more. That's what I need to do. But I've been busy, on the professional side. I've been working on a boxing documentary series that it hasn't come out yet. It hasn't been talked about yet, but it's about some older fights, mostly HBO fights, and we're doing docs on them. And there was a series called Legendary Nights on HBO that I was a part of a long time ago. This is sort of the same thing. It's talking to the fighters and showing the fight and getting the stories before and after the fight. So it's been awesome, man. I mean, I've interviewed Tim Bradley and Freddie Roach and Kelly Pavlik and uh it's just 5 or 6, 7 or 8 fighters. It's going to be and it's still ongoing. When it's announced, it's really going to be a big thing, but that's taken up most of my time. And I guess that's why the 10 months has gone so fast since we did a show.
Yeah.
Like it flew by, but I'm happy to be talking with you now.
Yes, no, of course. And I think that's great content because I feel like, and it happens everywhere. Even in Puerto Rico, I see that some of these great fighters never get to tell their stories.
Right.
Once it has passed, you don't get any other information. So I think that's great. And I know that you've had uh, too many experiences doing documentaries and working. So I know it's going to be great once it comes out.
Yeah, I'm
George,
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, you gotta let us know. Uh,
Absolutely.
George, the boxing scene has changed. I don't know. I gotta be honest. I'm hopeful. I have my doubts. I hope it's a good thing, and we're obviously talking about the TKO league. Dana White enters the game with Turkey Al Sheikh. Uh, I don't know, man. What do you make of this? What do you think? For I know that there's not too much info yet out, but what do you think?
I'm the same as you. I'm hopeful, but let me just plug my
Right.
computer in. I'm hopeful. Um, we've seen this happen before, similar things like Al Heyman with PBC.
Yes.
I was working doing some things with them and they came in with a lot of money and they were going to the rumor was they were going to have their own title belts, their own league, and it never happened. With fighters, they're going to go to wherever the money is. That's the first thing. So you've got a new league coming in, not just a new promotional entity. They're saying they're going to be a league. Well, you got the WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO. Are we going to have a civil war here? Because obviously I think they're looking to replace them. Dana White is saying he's going to fix boxing, which it needs to be fixed. These organizations aren't going to go away.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen? Dana White talked about this being important for boxing in the US because it needs to be strong in the United States. It remains to be seen. It really does. Dana White's talked a long time about getting into boxing. I do know he's very passionate about boxing, and he's got a guy with deep pockets in
Mhm.
Turki Al-Sheikhs who seems to care about fights and making fights that people want to see. But I'm like you, this has to play out. Most people think it's good, but there are people on the other side that think it might not be a good thing. Paulie Malignaggi thinks that they might be taking away the they might want to take away the Muhammad Ali Act, which is there for
Mhm.
fighters. So there's people for it and people against it. We just have to see how it plays out. Like
Yes.
I said, Dana White's been talking about this for a long time. Now he's in with some serious people, but fighters are going to go where the money is. If the money is there, I'm curious how this is going to work, because I still don't fully understand it like you.
Yeah, and I think I guess that they have to take away the Ali Act for this to work, because you cannot be the promoter and also the sanctioning body. You cannot do these things with the Ali Act. It was something that I spoke a couple months back with Gustavo Olivieri, the president of the WBO, and I asked him about this league because it was in talks for some months that maybe Turkey Al Sheikh wanted to make, like, I don't know, like monopolize the boxing world under one structure. And he told me that he was skeptical because of the Ali Act and everything. But right now, the thing that I'm most curious of is the fact that Turkey has great relationships with every sanctioning body, with every almost every promoter out there. So I don't know why go to Dana White and make a competition for all these players that have been like part of his war now of Riyadh season, because we know that Eddie Hearn, Top Rank, Golden Boy, all these great promoters have been in Riyadh season. So I don't know why do you have to bring competition to them. I don't know if this upsets an Eddie Hearn, which is your associate, and now he has a new competitor in town, and it's Dana White. Like, we gotta be honest, Dana White is a great promoter. He has done a great work in the UFC. We know that it's a different structure. And I see the point that Poli Malignaggi is making, because I saw all the videos that Poli put out, and Poli, he's outspoken and he has
Right.
a backstory with Dana White. But in the promotional side, we cannot be blind. Dana is a great promoter. He knows how to captivate the audience. The thing I fear the most is that maybe this is good for the fans, but maybe in the long run it's not as good for the fighters. That's the thing and that shouldn't be my concern, because I'm a fan and they're the
Right.
fighters, so they have to be to make their business. But I don't know, man, because like you said, it's a complete shift. And the other thing that I think is, if you don't have all these fighters signed and they cannot compete in the league, is almost the same that we have now. Like, you have PBC and they don't do crossover promotions with Top Rank, so it doesn't
Exactly.
sport.
I remember when I was with HBO, and HBO and Showtime, once in a while they work together, but either you were with HBO or you were with Showtime. Now there's more entities out there, but the fact that they're doing a league makes it seem like they're in to take over, not to be a part of. They like, and I know Turkey has great relationships with everyone, but they've announced that they're going to be a league. How are
Mhm.
they getting these fighters with different promoters? I don't really. Dana White doesn't have enough. He's got some fighters signed. Callum Walsh is a young up and coming fighter, but he doesn't have a roster of fighters that can come in and wow, he's got like 3 or 4 of the top 10 fighters in the sport. It's not
Mhm.
like that. So it seems to me like they're coming in with guns blazing, saying we're announcing a new boxing league. We're going to take over. It's not a new just a promotional company. They're talking about it being a league. So there's more questions than answers, because you're how where are they getting these fighters from?
Yes.
Who are they working with promoters? And you're right. If you fight with their league, can you fight
Mm.
on other platforms? It's there are a lot of questions, but it is exciting for the fans if it means that more fights are going to take place. But I think Paulie Malignaggi, and Paulie may be a little biased because he does not have a great relationship with Dana White, but he does bring up a good point.
Yeah.
Is this good? And you said it as well. Is this good for the fighters in the long run? I don't know. I don't know enough about it, the structure of it, and what the long-term plan is. We all know boxing has a ton of problems. We're still talking, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but we're still talking about Tank Davis and Lamont Roach and the knockdown that wasn't called, and the murky rules of boxing and everything else. So you and I were hopeful. You always hope that something new is going to be good, but a lot of people have come into boxing with money and tried to make a change, and they haven't. Now, Turkey Al Sheikh may have more money than anyone that's ever come into boxing,
Mhm.
but I mean, I look at baseball, totally different sport. I'm a Yankee fan. The Yankees are always among the top payrolls in baseball for the past decade. Doesn't mean you're going to win. Now,
Mhm.
boxing is different, but I'm hopeful that this works. But I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that uh, because I don't want to criticize it because it hasn't happened, and so sometimes we get mad about the bad things in boxing, so these people come with money and they try to make a change, and we cannot complain also because you want to change, there you have it, and you're going to complain again, but it's fair, I think, to ask this question. I think in the coming weeks we're going to know a little bit more about this, and I think also, like, the good thing that Turkey did, it was that he gained the confidence of everyone's before doing this. He's been doing business like 2 3 years with Eddie Hearn, DAZN, and he entered little by little because not everyone was happy at first. I remember when Oscar de la Hoya didn't like him, and
Right.
some Canelo Alvarez had a competition to be the face of boxing with Turkey. So he has gained some ground, as we say. But I'm hopeful. I think we just have to wait and to wait how all these organizations responds, because I don't think WBC and WBO are going to let a new title come and take all they've built all these years. So I think either they buy out everybody or they upset everybody, and we're going to see how these all things plays out.
Right. I just hope it's not like a civil war, because these organizations have been around for a long time,
Mhm.
and they're a business. And like you said, unless they are being bought outright, it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. Because another rumor is that this league, they're not going to create their own belt. Like the Ring Magazine belt, I heard, is going to be their belt.
Mhm.
So I don't know. There's more questions, but all you can do really is just wait and see how things pan out, because the fighters will go to the money. Like you brought up Canelo. Not long ago, Canelo was beefing with Turkey and they were not getting along. Guess what? Now Canelo is doing business with Turkey Al Sheikh because he's got the money and he's putting the fights together. So money can change in boxing and in most of life. Money can change almost everything.
Yes.
And he definitely has the money. I hope that the changes are for the good.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good because at the end of the day, maybe we talk about this because you work in the industry. I'm a hardcore fan, so we know these things. But the casual fan doesn't care about any
They don't
promoters or
care.
belts. They only want to see the big fights, and I think with the money they're bringing in, we're going to get the fight. So in that specific part, I'm happy, and I'm with you. I think that maybe they'll start from some weight classes. I don't think they can take over all the weight classes and put them in a league, but I think little by little they can construct their roster. Well, we'll see. George, this past Saturday, and you talk a little bit about this, we saw the almost the death of the of the undefeated record of Gervonta Davis, one of the biggest stars in American in all of boxing, but specifically in America, he's a big star. What do you think about the fight, aside from the controversy?
I was expecting a Tank knockout,
Yes.
like seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th round. And no disrespect to Lamont Roach, but they make weight classes for a reason. And he was moving up in weight to Tank's neighborhood, and I really thought that Tank was going to knock him out. Now, you talked about Tank being a big star. I mean, Barclays was packed. He sells out arenas everywhere he goes. There's no denying he's a star, but he didn't look great in that fight. And I'm not a judge, but I thought that Roach pulled it off by 2 points, and that's without the knockdown. That's without the point that could have been taken off for the cornerman coming into the ring. I thought that he won the fight. I think Tank, you get used to doing it, habit. You get habits by doing the same thing over and over. They become a habit. Tank's habit has been, in most of his fights, he starts slow, then he comes on, and then he gets the knockout. So whether he will admit it or not, he started slow again. And I think he thought, okay, when I turn it on, I'm going to get the knockout. And he didn't get the knockout. And I thought that he was outfought for most of the night. It was a close fight. But you can't deny, now that you look back, Lamont Roach was robbed. If two of those scorecards were a draw, there should have been a knockdown. There should have been a knockdown. And there wasn't. Now, I don't think, New York is going to take their time. They don't have the heart. They don't have the guts to overturn this. I don't believe. I think what they'll do is, the only thing I think they'll do is declare the no contest. I honestly don't think they have the heart to overturn it, even though they should, because they give referees discretion when it comes to a knockdown. They give referees discretion when cornermen come into the ring. This is way back when Larry Holmes knocked out Jerry Cooney. Jerry Cooney was wobbling around the ring. His cornerman came into the ring. Technically, at first they were saying Larry Holmes won by disqualification but they have the leeway to say, no, he was knocked out. We can change it. They're not going to overturn this, even though they should, because Lamont Roach was robbed. But this is one of the problems in boxing. Steve Willis had a horrible ninth round. He had a horrible ninth round. And the New York State Athletic Commission had a horrible night because they have instant replay. And I know they claim there was some kind of a issue and they couldn't look at the replay. I don't know if I believe that. It was a bad night for New York boxing. It was a good fight, but it turned out to be a terrible night for Lamont Roach, because he should be the lightweight champ right now in my eyes.
Yes, and I agree with you 100%. I also saw Lamont winning even without that knockdown, and I think too that the thing that to me it's the worst is the fact that first maybe they don't overturn it like you said, and Roach has this draw, which it should be a victory, the most important victory in his career, and also I got to be honest. I don't know if Lamont Roach in a rematch can have the night that he had,
Right.
because uh, uh, in all the fights of Roach, I've never seen this kind of level that he showed this past Saturday. It was like the perfect night for him, and I like the fact that he didn't get bullied by Tank. He didn't let Tank play his game and dominate. Even in the clinches, you saw like Lamont Roach was throwing with Tank and receiving punches too, and he had the chin to withstand it. But I don't know if he can repeat this night. And I'm with you 100%. I think Roach was the winner. As a matter of fact, if we play by the rules, he is the winner because he got a draw without that knockdown. That it's a knockdown, and I don't understand why did Steve Willis started counting and then he stopped. Like, what was the thought process of stopping the count?
You know, I think he was kind of baffled too as to why he went down, and everything did happen fast. I mean, not only did Tank go down, he went down really quick, and then he ran to his corner. So it's easy to look back and say, "Oh, he should have done this and this." It all happened so fast, but
Mhm. That's true.
their pace. Steve Willis is an experienced ref. You
Yes.
have to pull it together, and you have to do something. Um, I think in the rules, it's very hard to find the rules, but someone was saying that in the rules of boxing, a knockdown has to come from a punch, and if anything besides the soles of your feet hit the ground, well, that's not true because Floyd Mayweather, the only knockdown I believe of his career was against Carlos Hernandez.
Hmm.
Floyd hurt. I was in the truck at HBO. Floyd hurt his hand and shook it, and he touched the canvas with his glove, and the referee immediately started counting. He wasn't hit. He
Hmm.
wasn't touched. And that was a knockdown. So everything happened so fast, but that's where the referee has got to literally you call time and then you say what's what. If it's a knockdown, you say it's a knockdown. If not, look, he could have disqualified Roach, I mean Tank for his cornerman coming up on the apron. He could have taken off a point. You know, at best, for Tank, it would have been a 10-7 round, 2 points for the knockdown, 10-8 round, and another point for his cornerman coming into the ring. At the worst for Tank, he gets DQ'd right then and there. Instead, Steve Willis did nothing, and Lamont Roach even said when they came back together, he was saying, "Why'd you stop counting?" He was yelling at the ref, "Why'd you stop counting?" So it was a you're right, man. They took away that special moment from Roach when you win a belt. And that maybe that was the best night of his career. Maybe he'll have more. There's no guarantees, but that
Hmm.
was his special night.
Hmm.
And they took it away from him. Will he get it again? I mean, he's still a champion at 130, but beating Tank Davis and lifting that lightweight title from an unbeaten fighter is a big thing, and it was taken away, and that's sad to me that that happened because you're 100% right. There's no guarantees that this happens again, but I think another reason why the New York will not overturn it, they'll come up with some bogus uh ruling and say it should have been a 10-9 round or 10-8 round, but if you do that, then Tank would have could have fought differently, knowing he was behind, and they'll say that's why we feel like we shouldn't overturn it because Tank would have fought different. They'll come up with some BS,
Hmm.
and if anything, it'll be a no contest. Which to me, I think it should stay as a draw because a no contest, it then Tank is unbeaten again. He's
Hmm.
still unbeaten technically, but you got that draw on your record, and
Hmm.
boxing doesn't have the fortitude, the intestinal fortitude to make this right, and they won't.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Also, you know what? I was now that you said that I'm rethinking my position in this, but I thought that they maybe overturned it because of the recent Haney versus Ryan Garcia thing. It was also in New York, but you're right. You're right. The no contest does not apply here. I think that's worse, like you said, than to have a draw in that record. And it's sad that this happened, but like you said, maybe Roy Roach can fight Tank again, and maybe he has his number, because we've seen that some fighters are better than everyone, but this specific fighter can beat that guy. And that happened in boxing. I think, for example, you have Juan Manuel Marquez with Pacquiao. You take them separately, and you think that Pacquiao is better, but once you put them in the ring, you see that the style don't mix up well for Pacquiao. So that may happen in this case, but like you said, there's no guarantees that that's the case.
It's true. Styles make fights, and they're familiar with each other. They know each other from the amateurs. And that means a lot because you're right when you talk about Marquez and Pacquiao. I mean, Kenny Norton was a good fighter, wasn't a great fighter. He was a heavyweight champion. He was knocked out, I mean, viciously by George Foreman, but he gave Ali hell all three times they fought. Yet when Ali fought Foreman, he beat Foreman. So styles make fights.
Exactly.
You never know. But it is sad that it's always it's sad they took the night away because it's exciting when you see an upset or a
Hmm.
guy or a woman win a championship. It's a special moment. Nowadays, you get emailed your championships. Like people are handed titles now, but it's a special moment that you can replay. That's always there. That's the night I beat so and so, and they took it away. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope New York overturns it. But this notion, Ali Sekbak, who I don't know, but everybody knows him in boxing. He was saying, I don't like the idea of fighters getting lawyered up. He's not getting lawyered up. Lamont Roach is trying to overturn something that was done to him.
Hmm.
This notion that he's lawyering up and that's soft, it's stupid.
Hmm.
He's trying to do everything he can from a legal standpoint to get a victory. When he already earned it in the ring, now he's trying to earn it outside the ring. But boxing is gutless, and they won't overturn it. Why is it taking so long? What do you have to review? You
Hmm.
see what everybody saw. I've heard rumors that um, their equipment wasn't working, and this is rumors
Hmm.
that the production truck wouldn't show them the replays. That's bull. That's
Hmm.
bull. Okay, that's bull. And if they were smart, I've been in productions trucks. They could have a referee or someone from the New York Athletic Commission in the truck, and you have every camera angle, and you can see every angle instantaneously. It's all bull. It's
Hmm.
all bull. They're taking their time, like they do, and they won't do the right thing, and they're gonna say no contest or whatever, and I I I doubt very seriously. If I was betting on this, I'd bet no way do they do the right thing and make Lamont Roach champion. Because to me, Lamont Roach, he already did it that night, and now
Hmm.
he's waiting on them to do the right thing.
Yeah, and that's a great point because if you overturn the result, then it has to come the WBA and take away the title from Gervonta Davis and give it to Lamont Roach. So no, there's no way that happens. I think you're right. And also in the comment about his lawyering up, well, what's the alternative? What do you
Right,
want him to do? You want him to go to Tank's house and beat him up personally?
right.
What else can he do if he fought him in the ring? It's not like he's trying to beat him outside the ring. He already did the job. So can he do now? The only thing.
Agree. I agree. I agree 100%. It just, but for people to say that, it's just silly, and I don't know if 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 it's Tank fans saying that, regardless of who you're a fan of, and it was a close fight, you just want the right thing to be done. And if the right thing was Roach, you can't deny he won you can have your opinion. The facts are two judges scored it a draw. The facts are that should have been a knockdown. Therefore, the facts should have been that Lamont Roach is lightweight champion of the world. But this is boxing, and they
Mhm.
do what they want. They make up their own rules, and that's why we'll see if Dana and Turkey can change things. But I'm sick of boxing making up the rules for someone. Now you can call a timeout during a fight. So just call a timeout. They won't disqualify you. It's I don't know, man. I don't know. It's I was frustrated that night, and I really wasn't rooting for it. I like Tank. I like seeing him fight. I wish he would fight better fighters. Maybe there's a reason why he hasn't fought the top echelon fighters. Maybe there's a reason why, because he struggled with Lamont Roach, who no one had in the top 10 pound for pound fighters. Maybe he deserves to be there. But maybe this is why Tank hasn't fought the big name fighters. Maybe. I
Mhm.
thought he was going to win that night, and I don't, and he did not win.
Yeah, and I also saw some people commenting that, oh, we already told you that Roach was a good fighter before the fight. We gotta be honest. Nobody outside Roach camps thought that this was going to be the kind of fight that it was. I think like you, and you read the comments, everybody was hoping for a Tank 9 round, 10 round knockout. I was expecting it too. And also, I think that when Tank took the knee, he knew that it was a knockdown because he was
Right.
banking that he was going to knock him out in the next couple rounds. So I think Tank too thought that he was going to knock out Lamont Roach even in the ninth round of their fight.
Dan Canobio, who's a friend of mine, was doing
Mhm.
the betting that night on TV. And one of the prop bets was bet on 2 knockdowns. Now, they were thinking Lamont Roach was going to get knocked down twice. So that was a good prop bet to make. Tank Davis was a huge favorite. That prop bet was for Tank Davis knocking down Lamont Roach twice. So, Lamont Roach is a hell of a fighter. Like, Floyd used to say, hell of a fighter. He's a hell of
Hell
a
of a
fighter.
fight.
He's a hell of a, he is. He is. But not many people outside of his team thought he was going to win the fight. And he opened a lot of eyes, and then he gets robbed.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yes, I agree with you. And also one more thing about this topic. To me it's incredible because I'm a fan of Tank, of Kishon, of Shakur, but for some time, I think like for the last year and a half maybe, I was always saying that to me Shakur is the best lightweight in the planet. And I don't know, but I feel like past Saturday was kind of the proof because, like you said, nobody expected this kind of fight between Tank and Roach, and now to me it is pretty clear. Shakur is my favorite to be the one reigning in that division. If that's it, if everyone fought each other, and that won't happen, but if it comes to that, I think Shakur is the favorite in that division, to me at least.
I'm from New Jersey,
Hmm.
where Shakur is from, so I'm biased. I'm biased. So yes, I think that Shakur is my guy now. Shakur, he doesn't fight like Arturo Gatti.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they don't like him. Well, boxing is about more than that. We love the Gotti Ward fights, the Corrales Castillo fights, Hagler Hearns. We love those fights. But me, I love skill and
Yeah.
talent. And when a guy like Chris Algieri gets off the deck twice against Ruslan Provodnikov and outpoints him and becomes a champion, and Pernell Whitaker and Floyd Mayweather, I love that the skill that
Hmm.
fighters show. And Shakur Stevenson has just an immense skill set. I hope his hand issues don't hold
Hmm.
him back. But it happens to everyone. Floyd had bad hands. Muhammad Ali had bad hands. I mean, your hands are
Funny.
bad. Like if you, I don't know if have punched a heavy bag. I work out and you hit a bag and I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a pro boxer. Your hands hurt.
Yes.
Some of these guys have been doing it, and women have been doing it since they were 5, 6 years old.
Yes.
So I hope the hand issues don't hold Shakur back. Something I love about him, he's accepting the villain role. Like he's like, go ahead, boo me, go ahead, boo me. He's even said like, I can't do anything right, according to boxing fans. But you know what? Lean into that and use that. And he's doing it, and he's like laughing about it. So I hope, I always hope that the best fighters fight each other, and we'll see. I mean, Tank hasn't gotten into the ring with, if you look at his resume, and you're called a hater for saying this, but if you look at his resume, he hasn't gotten in with any of those big names at lightweight that people want to see him in the ring with. But maybe there's a reason.
Hmm.
Maybe there's a reason. So we'll see.
Yes.
But I'm with you. I'm big on Shakur. I'm big on Shakur.
Yes. And to be fair to Tank too, I accept this past fight. I've always thought that he haven't faced the best opposition. I agree with you in that, because at 135 and even 140 he hasn't fought the elite guys. That's the truth. But I always thought that skill wise, he had what it takes to compete with any of these guys.
Right.
Even Shakur, I see Shakur as the favorite, but I think Tank actually has great skills. He has great power. I think, for example, a fight between him and Keyshawn Davis, it will be exciting. And like I said, maybe before Saturday, I will have picked Tank Davis to beat Keyshawn Davis. Now I don't know. I got to be honest, because Lamont Roach make me, see some new things. But I don't know. He's still a great fighter, and the thing that I hope is that before he retires, he's already 30 years old. So we hope that he gets to showcase his skills against the best guys. That's what I want
But
for
you
him.
know what? He's talking like he doesn't want to fight anymore. All the
Yes.
talk before the fight was, "Oh, this is my last year in boxing. I want to get out. I need therapy." He doesn't talk like a guy who's in it too much longer. He's made a ton of money. You would think that he's financially set for the rest of his life. Maybe maybe if you believe social media, which now it seems like you get all your information off social media.
Hmm.
Uh, Tank and Roach have been going at it back and forth on Instagram and X, and supposedly Tank said, I'm pushing for the rematch, and Lamont said, "What do you mean pushing for it? It's in the like I had to sign a rematch clause if I won. So what do you mean pushing for it? You're in control." If you go by social media, they're fighting next, but then you hear rumors that Tank is going to fight Jake Paul. It
Hmm.
would be hard to do that coming off of such a bad showing, and that leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. Maybe they have a rematch. If you social media, they say they will on social media, but that means nothing.
Hmm.
That
Exactly.
means nothing. That
Yeah.
means nothing. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Well, moving on from 135 to 140, because this past Saturday too, we saw Russell against Rayo Valenzuela. We also saw Sandor Martin versus Puello, and we saw Subriel Matias against Gabriel Valenzuela. But we talked a little bit before recording that the Russell performance was going like under the radar because of all this controversy and everything. What do you make of that fight between Rayo and Russell? What did you think?
Incredible. That that was an incredible performance. It was a fight of the night for me. I was pumped watching that because Russell has got, when you watch him fight, he's got everything:
Yes.
speed, power, ring generalship, everything. And then he had the fight with Puello, which was a tough fight. So you didn't know, what is he that good? You don't know how good a fighter is until they fight other good fighters. That's the only way you see. I'm watching this fight with Rayo, and after 3, 4 rounds, I'm like, whoa. I mean, he is in control of this fight. He's winning every round of this fight, and you're waiting for signs of slippage, and it didn't happen. Round 8 and 9, I'm thinking he might knock this kid out. I thought it was a shutout. I thought it was just a beautiful, complete performance of a really good fighter. He had, what a night Gary Antoine Russell had. But then, unfortunately, it was the performance of the night to me. But again, not many people are talking about it because of this controversy that boxing caused on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So, not a lot of love is being shined on him. I mean, he looked like he was the best 140 pounder in the world that night. And my only fear is that he's going to go back to being inactive like he was, fighting once a year. Inactivity just isn't good. It just isn't good for fighters. It just isn't. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't. And if he stays active, I mean, he looked like the best 140 pounder in the world. Now, you can't base it all on one night. We know that because a fighter can have a great night and then the next time they fight look terrible. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's the case with Russell. I mean, he's young. He seems to be hungry. What a night. What a night. They couldn't take that away from him. I thought he was dominant in that fight, and he really cemented himself as a force, like in boxing. But I
Mhm.
want to see him fight anybody at 140, any name. I want to see him fight that person.
Yeah, I think it was a great performance, and also the fact that he beat a guy that came in inspired because Rayo
Yes.
had a great performance against Pitbull,
Great.
and he dominated in a fight that not many people gave him a chance because at that time Pitbull came from a great performance against Rolly Romero. So we see that this belt is changing hands pretty quickly and with great performances every time. So I agree with you. I think that Russell it's a great fighter. Like you said, the thing with him is that he stays active because he also doesn't have that popularity to maybe get on and be the main card or any of these things. So maybe he has to wait for a great name like a Gervonta Davis, for example, to get on their card. But I think in talent, in skill wise, I think he's a great fighter and a headache for any other 140 in the world. I think.
Woo, man, what a night. I was so excited after his fight because he looked so good. And when you see fighters put it together like that, he had a special night. He had a special night. And I'm afterwards, I'm like, damn, how did he struggle with Puello so much? How? And
Hmm.
because I know we're going to talk about Sandor Martin. I thought Martin pulled that fight out. It was not a great fight. It
Hmm.
was not a poor Sandor Martin, man. The guy, he just can't catch a break. He can't
Hmm.
catch a break. It was close. I thought he won. I thought he beat Teofimo, but he doesn't. He's the guy. You said it before we started filming. When you don't have that power and you have to rely on the judges, if I'm a fighter, the last three people I want to depend on are the three judges at ringside.
Yeah.
But he has no choice, and it was a close fight. I did think he won, but he didn't. But Gary Antoine Russell, whoo, man, just I can't wait to see him fight again. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yes, yes, and he has a an exciting style too because he's entertaining in there. So I think it's great. And the thing with Sandor Martin, which is a sad thing, which happens to many fighters, is that he's not that popular outside of the boxing community. He doesn't have maybe a great promoter with him, to get the opportunities. And also, he's a difficult fight for anyone.
Right.
So you have a very bad combination to get big fights, to get big opportunities, and even when you had them, to obtain the victory is pretty tough. And this is why, like we said before, these people, Dana White and Turki Al come in and they see, and we see them as hope at some level because you say, well, maybe this changes for the better because of this kind of situations. But we
Yeah.
have to see.
I
And
agree. I mean, it was a close fight, but I just when it was over, I thought that Martin won. I thought he deserved to be champion, and he's not. And well, I don't know. Will he get another shot? Look, it's easier nowadays with four champions. It's easier to get shots, but boxing is political because Martin. I'm looking at the ring ratings, the boxing ratings now. Boxing is such a horrible sport. Sandor Martin is not ranked by the WBA. He's not ranked by the IBF in the top 15, and he's not ranked by the WBO. He's not
Mhm,
ranked, yet he just fought for a belt. And it shows you that boxing is a joke, and these organizations, it's all political. You have to go to their conventions and you politic to get your fighters ranked.
mhm,
Maybe that's what Turkey and Dana White can stop. The IBF, Hitchens is the champion. Number one and number two contenders, it's not rated. That means someone must not have paid enough money to get their fighters rated or gone to enough conventions to get their fighters rated. So it's just it that part is a joke, and it's I get mad talking about the business.
Hmm.
I get happy talking about the fighters. And Sandor Martin, he's just one of those. It's a tough luck fighter. I don't
Hmm.
know if he's going to get it. You would hope he gets another shot. I don't know. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And to be fair too, and I know that you said it before, maybe the fight with Puello, we can't say that it was a robbery
Right.
too, because it was a close fight. Um, but I think either way, either fighter could get the victory. But the thing is, even if Sandor actually lost, it's sad that he has to go through all these things to get an opportunity again, because he's a great fighter. And with Teofimo, honestly, I think that he had cheat out. I think that maybe he should have got that victory with Teofimo, and the story will be very different if that was the situation. And it's pretty sad. And you mentioned the IBF title, Richardson Hitchens, and this past Saturday, Subriel Matias fought here in Puerto Rico, and he now is the supposedly mandatory for the IBF to get the opportunity. So what did you think about Subriel Matias and his chances against Richardson Hitchens?
He's got power, so he's got a chance in every fight he's in.
Yes.
But he's 32, which is not old.
Hmm.
I didn't think he looked particularly great. I mean, I'm still shocked that he lost his belt to Paro.
To Barrow.
I'm still
Yes.
shocked that he lost because he had all the momentum. People were talking about him. He was the boogeyman of the division. He was going to be the dark horse out of all those big names. You had this phenom from Puerto Rico who just had this phenomenal power, and then suddenly he didn't, and he lost a big fight at home.
Hmm.
He lost his belt. Look, you can have off nights in boxing, but it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing when you do. I think he's 30. I mean, he's 32. His power is always going to keep him in a fight. But I've had a lot of talks with Chris Algieri, who he's not the be all end all of boxing, but Chris had always said that Matias doesn't have his defense is horrible.
Hmm.
He's got no defense, and you can't be a top pound for pound fighter without defense.
Hmm.
And he didn't look great in the fight over the weekend. I watched it. He got the job done. He got the victory. He's got power, so he's going to be in every fight. But it was weird around the fifth, sixth round, seventh round. I never thought that he was in danger of losing, but he was slowing down, and
Yes.
it was a little troubling. And he was getting hit, but his power was too much, which it should have been
Hmm.
in that fight. He's a tough fight, but man, he's lost a lot of momentum, which you can make it look. You can make it up in one night because
Hmm.
if he gets into the ring with Hitchens and blows him away in 5 rounds, people forget it's all about your last fight. That's how it is,
Yes.
and it shouldn't be because I go back to Anthony Joshua when he was on this run of beating all these guys after he knocked out Francis Ngannou. I was doing shows on Pro Box TV, and we had a panel, and everyone was talking about how great he looked. And I asked Chris Algieri and Tim Bradley, I said, shouldn't we temper this a little bit? Because yes, he looked spectacular, but he knocked out a guy who had one pro fight in his career, Ngannou, and he lost that fight. They said, no, no, no. And then you see what happened with Dubois. So my point is, you forget about, it's all about the last fight. You
Yeah.
forget about the fight before that and then the fight before that. So Subriel Matias, if he gets a title shot and wins, everybody forgets that he lost his last, he lost his title in Puerto Rico and didn't look great in his very last fight. He's 32 though. So if he's the mandatory, look, in boxing being a mandatory means nothing. He might wait 2 years. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um I was I like him. I like his style, and I like the fact that with all these big names like Tio and everybody else, nobody was really talking about Matias, but he was the phantom. He was that monster like nobody wanted to fight, and he was lurking, and then he wasn't.
Hmm.
So uh I think he can still be a champion. I think he has some things to improve on. And when you're 32, it's not easy to improve at 32. You have certain things you do. He gets hit a lot. It's boxing.
Yes.
Everybody gets hit. Even Shakur gets hit every now and then. Even Floyd got hit every now and then. But he gets hit a lot. And you wonder, fighting a Teofimo or Hitchens, would that be too much to overcome? I still want to see him fight all those guys. And he still has popularity. So I like him as a fighter. We'll see. With that power, you can never say, oh, he's got no shot. Yes, he does have a shot. Yes, he
Yes.
does have a shot. So his story's still to be written. You know,
Yes.
it is. I every time I'll tell you this, so he's got that style that every time he fights, I watch and a lot of people watch.
Hmm. Yes.
And
That's
that means something. Whereas Sandor Martin, he doesn't have a style. Like you were saying, that you're not, if he's on, you're, a lot of people won't watch him unless it's in a title fight. Subriel Matias, I'm gonna watch him fight no matter who he fights,
yes.
because he's exciting, and that means something too. And I'm a fan of Subriel. I want to see him fight the best in the division.
Yeah, I agree with you. Also, one thing that I noticed, I had the opportunity to interview him before this fight, and one thing that I like is the fact that I saw the hunger back in him, because here in Puerto Rico he made some interviews and at some point was talking about retirement and maybe I'm in my last 2 3 fights, and then all the thing with Paro happened. And when that happened, I think, and it may happen the same thing with Tank here. Sometimes you get that bad night and you get that hunger back. You want to
Right.
demonstrate that it's not a fluke, that you are actually what you said you are. So I like that about him. I think he does get hit a lot, and it's something that he recognizes. He knows that he has that style and he likes that style. That's what he likes to do. It reminds me, for example, like a Brandon Rios, for example, that come
Right.
forward and get hit and make pressure, and they like that kind of fight. I like this performance. I don't think it was his best performance, but the thing that I like this time is that I saw like, and also we gotta be honest with the competition that he had in
Right.
front of him. It's not the same level maybe as Jeremias Ponce or Yuken Bayev, Ergashev, all these names, but I like the fact that he looked fresh in the ring. I like the fact that he was playful at times. And sometimes I see him like so uptight in his style, just coming forward. And this time I saw other things that I liked. Like I said, considering the opponent, because we cannot expect him to do that against Hitchens or Teofimo. And also, I know it's not popular here in Puerto Rico when I talk about this, but I think Hitchens is a tough fight for Subriel, because Hitchens has a good jab, great reach, good movement. The thing that gives me a little bit of hope with Hitchens is the fight with Lemos. When
Yeah.
he fight with Lemos, Lemos put on his pressure, and I don't know if Lemos put on the same kind of pressure that Subriel does. So maybe he can get Hitchens to a breaking point, but it's not an easy fight. The people here in Puerto Rico think that he's just going to run through Richardson Hitchens, and I know he can do it, but it's not going to be an easy fight, I think.
Well, let me tell you, first of all, Viva Puerto Rico. That's what I say. Um, you know what though? Something you said. It, I wonder why he would be talking about retiring. It's not like he was the undisputed champion. It's not like he had all the belts and went through beating all the great fighters and defended his title 10 times and said, I've done everything, I've done it all. He hasn't done it all.
No.
Well, even before he lost the Pato, he hadn't done it all. So, but you're right. Look, it's a grind. Boxing is a grind. So maybe he's invigorated now,
Yeah.
and um, maybe this sometimes people need that jolt of inspiration or whatever, and maybe he got it. I would talk with Chris, and Chris would say, "Oh, he's got no defense. He's not going to be great." Well, there have been fighters who went down as great fighters who didn't have great defense.
Mhm.
Um, power takes you a long way. Heart takes you a long way. A chin takes you a long way. He seems to have all of those things, and I think Hitchens is a tough fight,
Mhm.
but it's a winnable fight for
Mhm.
Matias. Let's just see it happen.
Yes.
Like I hope it's March when we're doing this. So
Mhm.
March, April, May, June, July, August. You would think by the summertime, if he's going to get a title shot, it would happen around then.
Mhm.
Let's hope that it happens, because that's when boxing is good, when the best fight each other, when deserving fighters get title shots. I hope that I hope that a title shot is next for him. And if he's mandatory, which means nothing in boxing because they play by their own rules, but I hope he gets a shot because he can win that. He can beat Hitchens. Um, but we'll see. He's, you know, even though he had a loss before Paro, right?
Yes.
He lost, but that was a bogus. I thought it was like, I know the circumstances behind it, and he did avenge that. He did avenge that loss, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Against Ananian Petros Ananian.
Right. So he was like, even though he was not unbeaten, he was almost like an unbeaten fighter.
Yes.
And just there was something about him, not a fear, but an aura about him that's not quite there anymore. But aura means nothing. It
Mhm.
means nothing because it could come back if he fights Hitchens and knocks Hitchens out in 3 rounds. Man, you're talking about him again.
Yeah.
So I hope I hope he gets a shot, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to power. Power can bail you out of anything, in of any fight. Power can bail you out, and he's got it.
Yeah, that's true. And also, when I interviewed him, he told me that, and with me and other platforms, he told us that he wanted to get Paro again. He wants to defend his title against Paro again. So, and he said that I don't care if Paro loses his next fight. I don't care about any of that. I want to get my rematch with him, with me with the belt, so that I can beat him this time as the champion. So we don't know. Maybe that hunger takes him back. Like you said, it's a tough fight. Richardson Hitchin, and any fight at 140 as we see. Even all these guys, all these ranked guys, you got I don't know, a Cambosos is a good fight, and you have all these 135 that want to go up to the division. So I think 140 is one of the best divisions in boxing, and it's all good fights. We just have to hope that they happen.
Well, that's the thing. That's what we hope. I mean, Tiafimo's got to fight. He's, him and Barboza
Bosa.
are fighting, so that's a good step. That May 2nd card in Times Square,
Hmm.
I like it. It's got interesting fights, big names, and interesting fights. May 2nd in New York,
Mhm.
you can either have 80-degree weather and sunshine, or you could have 55-degree weather and rain and cold. So they're doing it outside. They haven't said how they're going to do that yet.
Mhm.
I'm very curious as to
Yeah.
how they pull this off. But look, Tiafimo's got a good fight. Tiafimo is one of those wacky fighters who, Monday I look great, Tuesday I look terrible, Wednesday I look great, Thursday I look terrible. Uh, him and Barboza is a good fight,
Yes.
but I just wonder how they're gonna pull this off because the weather is dicey. Any outdoor fight
Mhm.
is dicey, but especially in May, because the weather, it's usually it's nice, but there have been many times in May, early May, where it's rainy and windy and cold, and they're gonna have a fight in Times Square.
Hmm.
So but you and I, we want the best fighters to fight each other
Yes, yes,
so that we can talk about it. Because when they don't, there's nothing to talk about.
that's true.
I would much rather talk about uh big fights coming up than how boxing shoots itself in the foot, like with Lamont Roach.
Hmm.
But I get why people are talking about it. And I mean, everybody's talking about it still, and it's Thursday.
Hmm.
The fight was on Saturday. They're still talking about it. They're still going to talk about it until a decision is rendered, and then they're going to talk about it some more.
Yes.
So we're not done talking about the bad side of boxing. Uh, I I I like I love to focus on the fights that are coming up and the big fights that happened, like Gary Antoine Russell and his performance. And I hope there's less things like what happened with Tank and Lamont Roach. And like, come on, man, like stuff got in your eye,
Hmm.
and just, oh man, it was. I feel bad on some levels for Steve Willis,
Yes.
but you're the referee, and you are paid to do a job, and you have to know, you have to be the type of person that you can take control quickly.
Hmm.
And he didn't. And he did everything wrong in that ninth round.
Hmm.
Everything. And it's a tough position to be in, but that's your job.
Of course. Of
And you
course.
have to expect sometimes it's not going to be easy. That was not an easy night, but poor Lamont Roach got robbed, and will he recapture that magic he had? Maybe this is the start of brilliance.
Hmm.
I don't know.
That's true. That's true. And also, before we go, we gotta talk about the great things that are happening in New York. New York is big in boxing now again, because for some time it was like a little stale. But you had today the press conference for Canelo versus Cool. Today once announced the Amanda Serrano versus Cary Taylor 3 at
Oh yeah.
the garden, and also the card that you just mentioned, the one on May 2nd in Times Square. Because you know why I mention it, because my family were always loved New York. My father, we're from Puerto Rico, but my father has always been a Yankee fan,
All
and we
right.
travel to New York very much. And
Okay.
I've always said that for some time, at least 2 3 years, I would like to experience to live in New York and to see that New York is getting its place in boxing. Because for me, I know that people talk about Vegas and everything, but to me, New York, as a Puerto Rican, it's the home of boxing. You know, we have the Puerto Rican Day Parade after the Miguel Cotto's fights,
Ugh.
or Tito Trinidad before that. So I'm in love with the city, and it's good that it has a special place for boxing right now in 2025.
I agree. And I was lucky enough to be in the garden.
Wow.
I was lucky enough to be in the garden for some Miguel Cotto fights, some Tito Trinidad fights. That place, when they fought, was electric.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
mean, it was when you're in a big fight with a big crowd, you can feel the energy of the crowd.
Yes.
I was in the garden when Trinidad fought William Joppy,
Wow.
destroyed Joppy. And that crowd, I don't think I ever experienced a crowd that loved a fighter so much. It was love. Like, it was love. And when that fight was over, Trinidad stayed in the ring and waved to the fans, and it was love. Miguel Cotto, maybe not quite on that same level,
Of course.
but
Yes.
it was love and respect for him in the atmosphere in those fights. I was there when he fought Zab Judah
Mm-hmm.
in the garden, when Cotto fought. I mean, I got this from a Cotto fight in Puerto Rico when I was with HBO. I was lucky enough to before Miguel fought Antonio Margarito the first time,
Mm-hmm.
we did a show. It wasn't 24/7. 24/7 wasn't around. We would do countdown shows. And
Okay.
I met Brian Perez as manager, and I spent 5 or 6 days with Miguel, and that was the last time he was an unbeaten fighter, because we all know what happened in the Margarito fight. But um you talk about New York. I am biased too, because I'm from New Jersey. I grew up in Jersey. So the first fight I ever attended was at Madison Square Garden. It was the New York Golden Gloves back in the day when they fought the Golden Gloves in the Garden. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad big fights are there. Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, that's exactly where they should finish this trilogy. Where it
Yes.
started, they sold that place out. I had a ticket to that fight and I couldn't go because I had to work. I was with Joe Smith before he fought Artur Beterbiev, and I missed that fight, and I'm so mad I missed it. I won't miss this
Mhm.
one. What It's going to be a great fight, and it's fitting that it's in New York. It's fitting that it's in Madison Square Garden. I love it when big fights are in New York. And we got that big fight in the Garden. You got Canelo. You got the fights in Times Square. So
Mhm.
look, it might not be like it was New York, but there's still something to be said. It's still big.
Yes.
And you see this Miguel Cotto was a big time fighter, and he was loved in New York. Tito Trinidad was loved in New York. And I keep this close. I actually have it. I have it around Oscar De La Hoya's head,
Uh-huh.
which that Oscar De La Hoya, that used to be in the offices of HBO.
Mhm.
Um, but I still have a friendship with Brian Perez, who was Cotto's longtime manager,
Mhm.
and yeah, New York had a special relationship with those fighters,
Yes.
and the fact that Amanda and Katie sold out Madison Square Garden, the first women to do that, it was special. And when that garden is packed, it's a special place. And I'm
Yes.
I'm lucky enough that I was there for a Trinidad fight. I was there for a Cotto fight. I got to see them in that element, but it still, excuse me, it still blew me away.
Mhm.
The love. I mean, it was emotional love they had for Tito.
Yes.
And to feel that, you could feel it going through your body, the
Mhm.
love that they had. And it was funny because I was rooting for Tito. But he's fighting Joppy, and from Joppy, I think was from Philly. There was this one fan who, and Joppy just got crushed in that fight. But there was this one fan, this poor guy. Every couple of minutes, he would get up and yell out, "Joppy, and he would get surrounded by people, and they weren't trying to hurt him or anything, but they were like, "Tito," and they would shout him down. But that atmosphere, man, it was just, and he, like, you could tell how much he loved the fans, because he stayed in that ring long after the HBO cameras were done. He stayed in the ring and was just waving to fans and blowing kisses, and the crowd stayed. They stayed. I mean, I'm sure security at some point had to start kicking people out.
Mhm. Mhm.
What a just special. And in that place with all that history, Madison Square Garden, and they're a big part of it. And Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano are a part of it too. And it's the perfect end to their trilogy. It
Yes.
is. It's perfect.
Yes, and I was there the first fight between them, and
Oh,
it was amazing. But it was very competitive because you have some many Irish fans at the Gardens, as you can imagine. So you
Amanda
can.
Serrano won. And I've got some Irish in me. Amanda, I was rooting for her. She might have won that second fight too. But
Mhm.
you know what? They were great fights.
Yeah, yeah, they were, and yeah, because the first fight that I ever attended, actually, I was a kid. I wasn't even a fan. I was like 7 years old. Cotto against Malinagi in New York too. in 2004. I was
Wow.
only 7 years old. I wasn't a fan or anything, just that my family took me there because my father took us to New York many times. But that time he wanted to get to a fight, and it was Miguel Cotto against Poli Marinaggi, and
Ooh.
it was amazing to me. For That's why New York to me it's like a special place. It has
Yeah.
some elements and boxing with it. It's amazing. But George, it has been great, man. I hope we can do this not 10 months from now, but
Yes, let's
before.
not wait 10 months, please. Please.
Yeah. We will say to the people where they can find your work, and you gotta let us know about that documentary and everything.
Oh, absolutely. I'm on Instagram and X. One round with George Jakovic. If you do one round with George, it'll pop up. And I have some fun stuff on there. I do things like what you do, interview people, and just I love talking boxing. And when that series debuts, I promise you I'll let you know because you forget about I love the history of the sport.
Mhm.
And oftentimes you forget about, we know who's fighting today, but there's a whole beautiful history of the sport. And I love when those stories come out, and that's what this documentary series is going to do. It's going to shine a lot of light on some great fights, great fighters, but good people and great stories because everybody has a story. Everyone, you do, I do, fighters do, and they're all different. And I'm all about the stories, man. So when that comes out, when it debuts, I promise I'll let you know beforehand, as long as it doesn't take me 10 months to be back on this show.
No,
Viva,
of course
viva Puerto Rico!
not.
Toto!
Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
Mi gente, vayan a seguir a George Jakovich, un hombre que tiene mucho conocimiento del boxeo, experimentado. Y ya lo saben, vayan a seguirlo, One Round with George en YouTube y todas sus plataformas. Nos vemos en la próxima, mi gente. Auténtico Boxing.